Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. As you know, I have driven thousands of cars over my career, and I'm pretty finicky and picky when it comes to evaluating a car as an engineer. And there's not too many cars that truly impresses me to the point where I think I could actually own that one. Well, this one, which is a 2023 Genesis G80 Electrified, is one of those cars because I love it so much that if I have to pick one electric car to drive for the next couple of years, this one will be it. Why is that? Well, I'm going to give you 17 things that you should know about the all-new Genesis G80 fully electric car. The first thing you should know is that the manufacturing quality seems to be very good on this Genesis G80. Let's take a look. The gap between the hood and the front fender is about 4 millimeters here, about 4, so a little bit wider than what I would like to see. However, the gap for the rest of the body panels are good, 3.5, 3.2, and about 3.3 millimeters, so very good gap in terms of the panel to panel. And even the trunk area is very good at 3 millimeters. More importantly, the panel alignment looks excellent. Everything seems to be really good. I see a bit of a ripple around here, but for the most part, the actual manufacturing quality of the panel and alignment is excellent. The second thing I'm going to point out is whether or not the paint thickness is above or below average for this G80. Let's take a look. Let's measure the front hood. It's 185 micron, and that is much thicker than normal because usually it's between 100 to 120 microns for most cars. What about the front fender? 197, so also quite a bit thicker than normal cars. 170 for the front door and 176 for rear door, very consistent. And finally, fender in the back, 179. First of all, paint thickness is very consistent across the board, but more importantly, it's quite a bit thicker than your average Lexus model. Lexus models are between 110 to 130 microns, sometimes going to 140 if it's a special paint. But in this Genesis, we are seeing upwards of 180 microns. So I really like the fact that the paint is thicker than normal because that will give you additional durability. What about in terms of the actual paint job? It's extremely well done in terms of the polish. The actual clear coat looks really good. In fact, I can tell that the clear coat is quite a bit thicker than normal. And this beautiful blue-green is absolutely amazing. But I do see some excessive orange peel around here and also a little bit here. So I would say the paint job is not perfect, but better than most other European brands in this price range. But maybe the paint job isn't quite good as Lexus, but I like the fact that the paint thickness is above average. The third interesting thing is that the G80 Electrified, which is fully electric, looks like almost exactly like its counterpart G80 in the gasoline version. The two looks exactly the same, but this one is fully electric. Does it look like there's an engine in here? Well, it does, but no, there is no engine in here. It's fully electric, and there's two motors in this G80 Electrified for a total of 365 horsepower, so there's plenty of power in this full EV. The fifth thing I want to point out is that this one has a very good range of 454 kilometers or 282 miles, and that is due to the large capacity battery in this vehicle. The sixth thing to know is that this one comes only in all-wheel drive version here in Canada, and that is due to the two electric motors, one driving the front and one driving the rear. The seventh thing isn't too much of a positive thing, and that is the fact that the trunk is actually very limited in this vehicle. As you can see, I got lots of stuff in here getting ready for a fishing trip. But the trunk is not very usable because it ends over here and there's a ski path through, but the capacity is less than desirable. And this is where you might want to wait for an SUV version of this car, which will be G80 Electrified, and that would have all of the benefits of a large cargo and a large interior space. The eighth thing is about the interior, and I can tell you this is the most exciting part of the G80. The interior is gorgeous. It looks like something out of a $300,000 Bentley. Well, in fact, it looks even better than the Bentley model with a beautiful mixture of leather, stitching, which is contrasting as well. And they even have a very interesting material selection for this part here. It's not wood, it's not stone, it's kind of like a mixture of the two. And it's just a gorgeous interior with this white leather mixed in with a dark green contrast. I think the interior is the best part of this car, and I absolutely love it. And most people that walk in say this is the most beautiful interior they've seen, so that's the eighth positive point. Having said that, the ninth thing to point out is that this large infotainment system is beautiful to look at, but not always practical because the distance is pretty far. I can use the dial here to navigate, but obviously easier if you can just reach out. But reaching out and trying to navigate from here, this is quite a bit of distance. I wish that they brought this just a few inches closer to the driver or passenger. It would have been so much better. So yes, it is a touch panel, but I think ergonomically it's too far away. The 10th interesting thing is that we have a full digital instrumentation, and I have seen many cars with digital cluster, but this is the best one I've seen because not only is it very clear, in fact it's crystal clear, but it's got a kind of 3D depth feel to it, so it doesn't even look like a digital instrumentation. It looks like there is an actual structure built in that gives it that 3D feel. So I really like the digital cluster in this car. The 11th thing I like about this car is that you get a mixture of digital and also real physical control. So thankfully, the temperature control and many of the audio controls have buttons and dials. So I really like the fact that we get a tactile feel. But in this section, they actually have a digital panel for things that are not commonly used, because these are something that you don't have to keep on changing. So they obviously thought about this so that most commonly used items requires a hand gesture, and the rest of stuff is digital. The 12th thing to keep in mind is that for some reason, even though this car comes fully equipped, we don't get a sunroof or moonroof on top. We do get a nice Alcantara material, but for some reason, it doesn't come with a sunroof or moonroof. And at least here in Canada, this model comes in only one trim, which is fully equipped. So I'm not sure why, but we don't get the sunroof. The 13th thing is that this has one of the most comfortable seats I have come across in a luxury vehicle. And in fact, it has a pretty good support because you can see that lumbar support as well as side supports are quite strong and firm. So when you go around the corners, even though this is a luxury vehicle, it actually holds in place on the seat. So I really like the seats in this car. The 14th thing to keep in mind is that this has one of the best ride over any luxury vehicle I've driven, mainly because with electric cars you have a really lower center of gravity, so it really stays low in the ground and it stays stable. But whoever engineered the calibration of the suspension knew exactly what they're doing. Whether it's bumpy road or smooth road, city road or highway road, this has one of the best rides in terms of it being very balanced and comfortable, but at the same time firm. 15th thing to note is that the rear seating area, much like the front seating area, is extremely comfortable but supportive. As you can see, you get a really good side support, which is unusual for a rear seat because it's not all flat, and it's very, very comfortable and supportive. But the leg room and the actual room here is a little bit limited than I expected, so not the ideal car for limousine type driving. But if you want to be held with a supportive feel, this is the best seat in the house. The 16th point is the most important point for me, which is the drivability. And this is where I was really caught off guard because I was expecting this car to be soft and cushy, which it kind of is, but it has a tremendous cornering and stability on the road. Honestly, I was very surprised how stable it is around the corners, even twisty roads, and the fact that it's kind of fun to drive, not just because it has immense acceleration, but just because the steering has a really good feedback and the stability and agility on the road is way above anything else I've come across in terms of luxury sedans. Much better than Tesla Model S, and even compared to Mercedes S-Class or Audi A8 or BMW 7 Series, this one is more fun to drive. And the 17th thing is for the passenger. Whoever is in this car keeps commenting how luxurious it feels, how quiet it is, and how comfortable it is. In fact, this car has a Michelin winter tires on it right now, but it is still extremely quiet. So you're going to absolutely love this car as a driver if you like luxury cars, but you're going to love it even more as a passenger, front or back, just because of total comfort, quietness, and absolute comfort. So in conclusion, I want to say that I am absolutely taken back and shocked and surprised at how good this vehicle is. Even though it's an expensive vehicle, it's a four-door sedan, not an SUV, and it's not a sports sedan at all, but it drives like a sports sedan with immense acceleration, really good feedback, even good cornering and agility, and it has a wonderful range of comfort, the highest technology, and it's fully electric. You know what? I am absolutely in love with this vehicle, and I will take this vehicle over any of the other luxury vehicles, including Lexus LS, which is really outdated now. What do you guys think of the new Genesis G80 Electrified? Is it something that you would consider buying if you're buying a flagship sedan? Or is it something that you wouldn't consider just because most people want to buy SUV these days? Well, don't overlook this one because it's much better than you expect, and I just gave you all these reasons why it's one of the best vehicles in the world. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up, make some comments, and if you haven't done so yet, would you kindly subscribe as well. But until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.